Hey, first grade. So today's video is about something that I would have done from the back of the classroom. Remember, I would sit on the back counter and I'd read from the language arts book. So when I would do that, you would often hear a story and then we would discuss some story element, whether it was sequencing, the setting, characters, things like that. So today I decided to make a video about using this same style, and we can just pretend that Mrs. Smith is sitting at the back of the room on the counter, and you guys are all in your seats, and you have your knees and your shoulders facing me in 3, 2, 1, ready. Okay. So today we're going to be reading the story on the screen in front of me. This is called Earle Dickson and His Wonderful Invention. And I'm very curious if you can guess at the end what invention he actually created. So as I read, you will probably notice that there are some highlighted parts to the story, and that will be explained later. So for right now, you're either watching this or you've printed out this reading so you can do it along with me, or you're reading on your own at this point. Any of those things are okay. But just in case, here I am. So one evening, Earle Dickson went home to find that his wife had cut her finger while making dinner. It seemed that every day his wife hurt her hand in some way. She couldn't make a bandage for her own hand, so he always did it for her. Another problem was that the bandage he made for her always fell off again when she was working. So imagine she cuts her hand, and I have a napkin here, but imagine that he tries to make her a cloth bandage, which is what they would have used in the past. And so he wraps it around her finger and it stops the bleeding and it works. But as soon as she wants to do anything, it starts coming apart. And if it gets wet, it's over. So this isn't working. It happened to be that Earle Dickson worked for a bandage company. He was about to make one more bandage for her finger when he suddenly started thinking, why didn't he make a smaller bandage? Why didn't he make one that would stay on by itself? Why didn't he make one that his wife could put on herself? Earle Dickson was determined to solve the problem. First, Earle Dickson cut a strip of sticky paper. Next, he put a small square of thin, light cloth on the adhesive. So at this point, I'd probably ask the class, what is adhesive? Adhesive is a fancy name for glue. It's that sticky stuff, like the sticky stuff on the inside of my tape dispenser or inside your glue stick. Last, he placed the sticky paper on his wife's finger. Earle Dickson had become an inventor. He had made the first adhesive bandage. The first bandage, which had glue on it so that it would stick. Earle Dickson showed his invention to his boss. His boss thought it was a terrific idea, so do I, and began making them for the company. The first adhesive bandage was made over 80 years ago. At first, the little strips weren't too popular. Then, people began to realize how wonderful they were. Today, you can find adhesive bandages in almost every home. I bet they're even in your home. You might even have one on your fingers now. Maybe your toes. They even go into space with the astronauts. Adhesive bandages can make almost any cut or bruise heal better. So, what did he create? What do we better know these bandages as? Well, one type of this bandage is called Band-Aid. And so he was instrumental in creating this amazing invention, all because he saw a problem and he wanted to solve it, which is really how a lot of science and inventions are created. People see a problem and they fix it. And I can't wait to see what you guys, the kind of problems you come across, and maybe when you grow up, you'll be fixing problems just like Earle Dickson did. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down my pages, and I'm going to show you the next part. So this part, you can see in front of you, it says sequencing the story. To sequence the story means to put the situation or to put the story in order. So sometimes when we sequence, we do the entire thing. But in this case, we only want to sequence the highlighted part of the story, Earle Dickson and His Wonderful Invention. And that is why I've highlighted this section of your reading. So it might help you to print that out. You don't have to, you can just look at it. You probably should print out this part of the assignment. It'll be easier to write than it is to type, but I'm okay with typing too. You got to do what works for you. So here we notice that sequencing has these important words, and one of those words is this word that I'm highlighting, which is first. Then we have second, and then third. So what I need to be able to do is I need to go in here and I need to really figure out what happened first, what happened second, and what happened third. Now, there are not 3 sentences in this highlighted part. That means it's not giving me the answer. I'm going to have to maybe put 2 things together in order to make 3 cohesive thoughts. Now, if I was really crazy, maybe on the back of my paper, I might put a 4th bubble, and you could do that, that would be okay. But it does stretch the mind to make us combine similar thoughts so that we can make things in order. So down here, what you'll be doing is you will be either writing or typing, and you need to take the information straight from the paper. So as we look up here, one of the things that I noticed is this word that I'm highlighting, that is the word first. So first tells us that's the first thing we should look at. So it says here first that Earle Dickson cut out a strip of sticky paper. Next, he put a small square of thin light cloth on the adhesive. Now, this is something where I could see that we could actually combine. So what would that sentence look like? You're right. Okay, I might say, first, Earle Dickson cut a strip of sticky paper and then placed a small square of thin cloth on the adhesive. So I took those 2 sentences and I put them together for my first. Then, I know it says last here that I'm highlighting, but that's not really what happened last. So what I might do is I'll look here and it says he placed the sticky paper on his wife's finger. So I think that's more like what happened second. Now, how did these bandages get out to the world? We need to answer that question as well. And the reason is because he took his invention to his, you're right, to his boss that I'm highlighting. And his boss thought, great idea. And so my third part of the story, in order to bring it out into the world, was he had to show it to his boss, and then the company had to start producing. So what happens if you're not as lucky as Earle Dickson and you're trying to develop a Band-Aid or a bandage that has the adhesive, but you don't work for a bandage company? Well, that's when you start doing research and you look into places that will help you develop things, and you just share ideas. Now, I think that Earle Dickson really created something special for us, because even now, and this book that I wrote this from Earle Dickson, this was maybe 10 years ago. So it's now almost 100 years that we've been using these bandages and these Band-Aids with the adhesive. So pretty cool invention? I think so. All right, so remember, go back through the video and pause me, because I just got to keep talking. And as you're writing, think about using complete sentences. Think about using the writing and the words from the story. You can create your own sentence, but we want to make sure that we're using the verbiage that is there. So we want to use the words that are in the reading. Words like adhesive, bandage, his name, invention or inventor, and then finally company, and maybe even the word idea. All right, have fun, guys. Good to see you, and I hope you've enjoyed this story about Earle Dickson.